Welcome to Business Startup for Boomers. This is the show that brings you inspiration and ideas to start your own boomer business. Here's your hosts, Larry Aarons and Jeff Williams.
Yeah, welcome to Business Startup for Boomers. Great ideas, some inspiration, some things maybe you haven't thought of when you're considering becoming a boomer entrepreneur. And on the line with me from BizStarters.com is the chief coach at BizStarters, Jeff Williams. Hey, Jeff.
Hi, Larry.
Hello. Well, we had a little neighborhood wine party the other day. I love these social occasions, and I live around a lot of fellow boomers. And the talk turned to this audio series that we're doing with you. I said, hey, we're talking about baby boomers becoming entrepreneurs. And a couple of guys said, hey, I've been thinking about doing that. But the first question I got, and I'm going to have you address it, Jeff. Hey, what's the risk here? I don't know if I want to get in over my head and risk some money here. So they're risk adverse, and I wondered what you had to say about that.
Well, it's a very understandable topic. Only the most fortunate boomers made it through the recession without taking some financial hit. Most people took some hit, and although they've recovered, they don't forget that. They thought about, I lost some headway here toward my retirement capability because during that time period. So, I'm very happy to share some great news, and that is that small business today has evolved to a point where it's what I call a low-cost, high-profit business model. And let me just talk about that for a minute.
Sure.
Let's talk about, what were some of the risk factors in business? Well, when you look at startup costs, one of the big factors that was in play, I know when I started 25 years ago, and that was in most cases, you had to have some kind of business space outside of your home. You had to have a retail store. You had to have an office in an office building somewhere. And typically, you're looking at least $1,000 a month rent for this type of arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
So right off the get-go, normally they'd get you to sign a 2-year lease. You're looking at $12,000. That's $24,000 you were on the hook for. And the landlords were very good at going after this. If you left before the 2 years, they were still going to come after you for the money. So all of a sudden, your risk factor shot way up because you're looking at $25,000 just to have space. And that didn't include the phone bill and utilities and insurance on the space. I know I had outside space for 17 years in a couple different buildings, and I was paying on average around $1,200 a month, for rent and utilities.
It's a big check to write.
So that's number one, is that back, 15, 20 years ago, you needed to have the outside space because it was part of your marketing formula. It really lent credibility to you to have what sounded like a commercial mailing address. Now, of course, mailbox stores have come in place since then, and they're providing it. Matter of fact, I currently use a mailbox store here in suburban Chicago because I work from home now.
Mm-hmm.
So number one risk reducer is that you don't have to have space for your business anywhere outside your house today.
Great news. Yeah, people just don't, I don't want to say they don't care. It's just not a factor in whether they do business with you. That's good to know. What's the next one?
Well, the next one is the manpower element. Back, 15, 20 years ago, in order to grow your company to $100,000 or $200,000, you probably would have to have at least some part-time labor support working for you. And that pretty much meant you had to have what they call a W-2 relationship, which means that they were an employee and you would have to pay certain costs. Typically, it was costing you 25% more than the salary to have a W-2 employee. You had to pay, the employer has to pay part of the Social Security and Medicare deduction. You might have to pay other costs related. And it was 25% if you didn't provide any health care for your employees.
Yeah.
Right off the get-go, the minute that person sat down and started working in your office, you had this big ball of expense there. Well, there are still situations where you need to have someone who's a full-time or part-time employee, but today there are so many ways to get temporary help. There are consulting websites, there are graphic design websites, there are For example, I used a woman this week who I found through a website. She is a really talented writer of copy for websites.
Yeah.
And I was kind of stuck on something and needed some help. And she has an hourly rate, and you tell her what you want to do, and she comes back and says, I think this is going to take me 2 hours. You multiply it by the hourly rate, and that's how much it's going to cost you. No additional expenses. When we're done working on that project, I have no ongoing cost from her.
Oh, that's great. This takes the risk out of it. And you can understand why boomers, as you said at the beginning of the episode, you can understand the hesitation that people have. They don't in their investments right now, they don't want to have much risk. And if they're doing a business, they don't want to have much risk. But the good news is technology, freelancers, all the other things in the business world now are set up in your favor. And this is a positive. Got about a minute left, Jeff. So what else would you say to somebody who says, I've got this great idea, but I don't know if I want to put a lot of money out? What do you think is the investment range to get started?
Okay, the investment range is $3,000 to $10,000, depending on whether you have to get computer equipment. But here's the good news. Most of our startup clients are running their businesses for under $400 a month.
Wow. That couldn't have happened 20 years ago. It just couldn't. That's really amazing. And a lot of that is just profit, isn't it? The expenses are so low. Well, this is all great news. If you want to talk to Jeff personally, all you got to do is book a call with Jeff. Look on the BizStarters website homepage. You'll see a greeting there, and right below it says book a call with Jeff, just like we're doing here. And you can talk with Jeff for up to 30 minutes without any obligation. And run your idea by him, throw the concept at him. This is what BizStarters does, and it's free of charge, and they get a little bit of your time and a whole lot of knowledge. Jeff, great to talk to you. Look forward to the next episode.
Thanks, Larry.
This has been Business Startup for Boomers with your hosts, Larry Aarons and Jeff Williams, the show that brings you inspiration and ideas to start your own boomer business. See you next time.